Hello, everybody. This is Arya Apte. Today we start business law. In book number 2, Indian Contract Act, Negotiable Instrument Act. These both are the subjects to understand. In book number 1, Indian Contract Act, 1872, Part 1, Part 2, and Negotiable Instrument Act, 1881, which is Part 1, Part 2, which is basically we can understand. So, Indian Contract Act, 1872. The evaluation of world has been a continuous to process, and in century man used to live like animals, but with the help of brain man has brought inclusive changes in life and made a life easy and comfortable. Man is social animal, hence live with other human beings. When a tribe or community comes together, it is necessary to have anomaly between themselves, without which the life will be in bureaucratism. With the evaluation of human beings also made a progress to enable him to the live community and avoid a conflict. So the contract is to do so. In a very lost sense, the saint says set of rule means the law. It make human life comfortable. It's externally behavior of the growing of the application of these rules and compatibility of each rules is made mandatory to achieve to desired result. म्हणजे ह्याच्यामध्ये असं लिहिलेलं आहे की आता जर दोघांमध्ये काही व्यवहार व्हायचे असतील तर ते सुरळीत होण्यासाठी एक लॉ डेव्हलप करण्यात आला. तो तो म्हणजे कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट ऍक्ट झालेला आहे. According to Austin, the rule sections by the supreme authority and the applicability of the people in terms of the law. A part of the Australian may be legal. Stalwarts have defined the law according to Salmon law means a set of rules by the state of administrative and tender justice. According to Holland, the law means a set of rules, regulations, growing external conduct of the human beings. In everyday life, we enter into the number of transaction. While the carrying this transaction, we entire knowingly and unknowingly either into a legal enforceable contract, and we are not aware of a intelligence that we are entering into such legal enforcement contract because the parties to the contract generally fulfill their obligations, and enforceability of the legal right or compensation and penalty does not come into the play. Going into a hotel, the purchase of provision and purchase of tickets are example of such completed contracts. So for when the any person gives service at that time, this service according to the criteria of any monetary terms. Monetary terms will be uh, given by the customer and the contract is fulfilled. So, as per record, it is complete or not. So, we can make clear that the monetary terms will be clear, but at that time we receive any receipt, at that time this contract will be complete. So, the knowledge of law in sense of the present well information citizen, the constructual rights, responsibilities, and obligations have defined in Indian Contract Act. This act has been forced to the Indian to more than 130 days, 30 years, and has been modified to the chapter 130 days and has been modified in suit changing the circumstances. The law drawn is obtained from the English law, yes, English law, before our independence. The whole law reevaluate the found the key world contract, which has defined as the agreement, and please underline this para. An agreement enforceable by the law is a contract. Next, contract means a legal enforceable agreement between two persons wherein the two or more person get a legal right and some have to be fulfilled corresponding legal responsibilities. An agreement which can be enforced in a country of law is a contract. The agreement which defined as a obligation between two and more person is known as a contract. While the above definition are compared with the Indian Contract Act 1872, the very defined as many emerge when the agreement between two person enforced into court of law, it is said to be a contract. The said definition can be explained by the following mathematical formula. Agreement plus enforceable in court is equal to contract. The term agreement is also been defined as a section 2 under every promise and every set of promise formed to the consideration of each other in a agreement. So the short agreement is a consent of a act as defined as a doing something or valid consideration. However, such contract need to be withdrawn in a test of principle principle of a law and adorable in section 10 of the Contract Act 1872. The lay down the fundamental of which contract is based on, which are following the legal enforcement people proposal and the acceptance, constructional relationship. After that, consideration, valid and legal enforcement contract, which is not possibility by any other law formulation, section of the custom guarantee that the constructional obligation will be fulfilled. At least two person written agreement whichever is required, registration of agreement whichever is required. Section law must be valid in a eye of law. It is not always necessary that the every contract will based on all above principle, but the above general rules which are agreement founded, the different type of contract are to be given below. The legal enforceable agreement, any agreement which can be performed and enforced in the court of law, it is termed as a legal enforceable contract. Void agreement, in agreement of the performance in which they cannot be legal enforceable in void contract. Viable agreement and agreement which are enforced by the law at a option of one or more of the parties thereof, but not as option of other and others. It is a viable contract. Legal agreement, an agreement which not within a framework of law, and the agreement which eventually specifies prohibit and legal agreement. Enforceable agreement, an agreement which cannot be performed due to the legal and technical defense for any reason is enforceable agreement. However, when the defense of the removing of the sum because a legal agreement, enforceable agreement, and not illegal. The above are five different kinds of agreement. The first one is valid and enforceable contract, and the last one is not excludable. So, these are the types of contracts. Next term is legal proposal and acceptance. Proposal is a first step of agreement and person who intend to the enter into any transaction. He should communicate the proposal and other person. That term proposal is defined as a section 2. When one person significant to another his willingness to do or to obtain with following anything which are viewed to obligation and assist of this other to such act as abstain, he said to the make proposal. The person make a proposal is called an promiser, and he the person acceptance proposal is called a promisee. The short any act of the abstent form information of the significance proposal provided this proposal is made to the other person with an a intent to the obtain content as a said proposal. For example, Prakash tell Anand that willing to sell car and Anand is consideration of rupees 50,000. In example, there clear Prakash has made a proposal and sell the car and Anand provides the acceptance of the proposal. In this transaction, Anand should give the contact of the pay rupees 50,000 to the Prakash for the exchange of car. The following are the specific feature of the proposal can be understand to the defined as a term of a proposal and on a basis of various court judgment. Uh, Intention to enter into legal, the promiser should make the proposal to other person which is intended to the form a legal and constructive right of the obligation. Every responsibility creates a corresponding right, and hence the so the intent to the entire into the legal relationship, the promiser should make a proposal to other person with a intent to the form of a legal and constructive right. The obligation, every responsibility creates a corresponding right, and vice versa. This promiser has also the corresponding responsibility to fulfill obligation for the favor of demanding form the promises, such as proposal is not uh, gratuite to intention, but an investigation of the create such legal enforcement, mutual right and responsibilities. Proposal to be in a form of required when the promiser sign his proposal in it get invite desired responsibilities from the promiser. The promiser will communicate or a responsible to offer only if he is interested in the proposal. In absence of such expectation communication, the promiser refused to his promise his to advise to make a proposal in request from there should be an order. The proposal must be communicate. Every person make a proposal should communicate his offer and desire to the person. In other words, the proposal or the offer made by the promiser should be made known as the desired person. Unless the proposal is a communicate to the promiser, it cannot be a legal wide offer proposal. Term of proposal. The term of proposal should be started clearly. The proposal should be maintained only the essential fact. In other words, the proposal should not be vague and ambiguous. A A communicate B that he has ready to sell, summarize back to B, and in that time he lose wonder to respond proposal. This proposal does not contain essential facts like number of bags, quantity, price, quality, price per bag, and absent such essential fact that does not contain a valid proposal. Proposal to be written oral or record. The proposal can be made in a three form, normally made in oral. For example, city bank, city bus takes a halt, some specific bus stop. It is a presumed that the bus driver has made a offer to take passenger to certain place. In such case, the not necessary communicate such proposal written or oral. In this case, the vegetable market, the seller makes an offer shouting and calling the product. If he has not corresponding the responsibility to fulfill his obligation for the favor, the demand from the promiser such as proposal is not a gratuit invention but the invitation to create such as legal comfortable mutual right and responsibility. Proposal to be in form of request required when the promises significant his proposal in it is with the get invite desire responsible for the promise. This promise will be communicate or the response in offer only when he as intent to the proposal. In absence, promiser refuse it presumed. Hence, it is advised to make a proposal in a request of there should be an order. Proposal must be communicate. Terms of the proposal. The terms must be clear in proposal. Proposal in written or oral in record time. A proposal make a specific and general. The time limitation will be conducted. Conditional and unconditional proposal must be recorded. Proposal for invitation. The parties invited as per proposal, promise, acceptance, promises. After that, again promises. Rules of acceptance. Acceptance must be absolute. The acceptance must be unconditional. Acceptance must be communicated to the promoter. Acceptance to in accordance with the direction of the promiser. Acceptance to be conveyed within a reasonable time. Acceptance any written oral. Promiser to given a contract since does not amount to be acceptance. No acceptance without a proposal. So these are the important points in this acceptance. After that, the legal relationship. The convert an agreement into the contract into necessary to create a legal relationship. To the create a legal relationship means to create a contractual right and responsibilities in invitation or an information dialogues formulate the legal relationship are not solved for inventorily when it is formulate contract responsible rights and the parties to be agreement fixed responsibilities. Indian Contract Act does not contain any definition of the meaning and legal responsibilities. When there is a proposal in made within a intention to secure a asset and acceptance to be sent. If the proposal is acceptance is up automatically create an obligation from the both and parties. In the invitation does not create a legal blindings and parties. However, if the transaction contain mutual consideration within a right and the responsibility become a crucial. This contains a right for the one who obligation and duties of other and vice versa. Invalid contracts some into the existence only when the legal relationship are created. The person compare contract. The person enter into the contract must be uh, compelled to the contract. If this condition is not avoid the section Indian contract that explain their term. Every person in a competent to the contract who is any age of majority according to their law, to which he as subject to sound made mind and not disqualified contract by the any law which is the subject. The above indefinition makes it clear that competency and contract depend on a following three principles: majority, sound mind, and section of a privilege law. So these are the important to make any person contract. After that, they given details of such conditions like sound mind to make good person in mentally. For that, the capacity of contract, the majority means he is above 18 years complete or 21 years complete in code in which graduate, otherwise not in major. Sound mind should not be a unsound mind uh, or section of a law, alien, foreign insolvency, um, prisoner means kaidi, uh, artificial person and professionals. So these are some person who they are not in such condition that this capacity is not fulfillment. So these three conditions, there are no contract person. Next term is pre-contract. According to Indian contract has great importance. When an agreement get convert into the contract, this principle must be considered as a fulfill in a sense. This is very important to aspect that principle of the contract in desire to discuss in given in uh, correlation under influence, fraud, and misappropriation and mistake. So, co-erection, according to section Indian contract, correction is committing and threatening to the committee as and acting a forbidding of a Indian Penal Code on a unlawful dictating or a threatening of debt a property. The presumption of any person, whichever is the intention to cause a person to enter into an agreement. Undue influence. While while obtaining a free contract, the same must be obtaining under influence in way of method of metal search. With under influence is different section in 16 as under act. So this influence is not tolerable. Next term is fraud. A content of physical pressure in applied in a undue influences mental pressure is it valid. The fraud of the intention to chat in invoiced section 17. The fraud means and include and of a following act of community by the part of contract or which the conveyance of by the agreement with the intent to dictate to another party thereof the agreement or to include him entire into the contract. So these are the main term. Next, last point is misappropriation. Misappropriation means to starting a phase of true when the person stating such fact as does not believe in the is to be true. According to section 18, the misappropriation is defined as under mistake of law, mistake of fact, mistake of the person, mistake of the vote. Above the Indian law, the about foreign law, about other alien law. So these are the main mistake type, the mistake law, when the two parties are acting under a misappropriation of existing law that's under parties are said to be act under a mistake of law. Following are the outcome of such interpretation, mistake and law of established by India. Mistake under a foreign law, mistake for the alien law, and mistake as a fact. So these are the main terms which are clear in here for mistake. Next term is consideration when the promiser agent with and promise to do the act, not a do a act, then the promise must pay a price of such promise made by the promises. Such price is termed as a consideration. The term consideration has a great importance in Indian Contract Act. Some written threat of the consideration must be life bond. Such price is termed as a consideration. The term consideration has agreed to importance in a contract act. The some return threat consideration as life, blood, soul, and is the principle leading down that there is no, cannot be contract without a consideration. When the agreement is involved into the contract, it is very essential to have some consideration contract. The number of law expect they have to try to define consideration in number of ways. Feature of consideration they can explain here. After that, one one cycle is given: proposal, promiser, acceptor, proposal. Promiser, acceptance of promise, consideration, and promising. So these terms are explained here. Some exceptions also given: nature of love and affection. B, after working with A for 40 years, retire who the job. B is very close to the reliable employee. Such type of retirement, A agreed to give B 5 acre land of retirement. A agree to give B 5 acre land without a consideration after retirement, then the due exception of the consideration are not essential. Uh, Gratitude of the pay if the person without any expectation provide any services to other later there such a person who has received his service and agree to compare to service provided that they not necessary to acknowledge the social commit and such promise to act consideration is not a necessary and his sum of the grant of past consideration. Next is donation or gift. If the parties to that agree to uh, free with decision that gift to be other person, then this not necessary to have consideration. The donation is also the gift and it is unilateral. The uh, given take relationship does not exist in gift of donation. This constitution on transaction has while making a gift and donation of the person making such gift donate does not expect any consideration. So these are the exception. Next is contract in repay of the time barrier debt like loan and appointment as a authorized representative. According to representative act as person act as a authorized responsibility and it is paid to the sum when the person is approached as a authority responsible when the respective gets some benefit from such a contract according to the representation of the contract is necessary to prove the consideration. The person who authorized the response representative act as a pay remuneration to the authorities representative, hence only to be authorized responsibility considered as a not necessary. So these are the terms which are clear here. These are the exceptions for you. Lawful object, the Indian Contract Act, like lawful consideration, required lawful object into the instance of the contract. Section 23 and 24, the Act will together clarify the meaning of lawful object. When two persons enter into the contract, then same enter into benefit of the both parties. Simultaneously, the implied the contract will not has considered as a common man uh, drafting the said act. The object in the contract should not be antisocial aspect. However, it is not only the possibility to fit the social benefit aspect within a framework of law. Still, this kept in certain social premises which enter into the contract, which moral principle must be adhered to it necessary to ensure whether the object legal illegal for the reason also he legally or object is necessary to ensure the social benefits. So these terms are clear in contract. Today we stop here. This contract part one is finished here now. If any difficulties you arise at that time in next lecture, you can ask me very easily. And please concentrate on contract important points like contract agreement consideration and capacity. Which नीट आलं पण आता माझं लेक्चर दुसरं सुरू करायचं झालंय दुसरं सुरू युट्यूब म्हणजे तुला बस